evening to say thanks to you for your grace and your goodness and your love to us. Thank you for creating us as the apex of your creation, for crowning us with glory and honor, making us in your image and in your likeness. Thank you for endowing each of us with gifts and skills and talents and personalities that make us distinct and unique and allow us to be able to carve out a niche for ourselves in this world and to make a specific contribution that will make this world better. Father, we thank you because you are the giver of every good and every perfect gift. And today, we thank you for the gift of parenting. Thank you, Father, for each parent that has seen the need to empower themselves, to improve their skills, to enhance the abilities that they have, so that they are better guardians of our children, so that they are better leaders of our children, so that they make a more positive, a more significant mark in the lives of the young people who are entrusted to them. Today we thank you for the Clarkston Foundation. Thank you for the vision and the insight that, Lord, you have given them to be able to do something like this that allows us to be better nation builders. I pray, God, that you will give them everything that they need, because we understand that vision needs provision. And so we pray that you will provide all the resources that they will need to continue to pour into the lives of residents in this constituency and even beyond, and help them to be able to make their world and their sphere of influence a better place. We pray that this exercise this evening would even inspire us further. We ask for your guidance, we ask for your leadership, and we pray, Father, that in the multitude of our experiences at this event, that we will all strive to be better citizens and to make a more significant mark as craftsmen of our faith. Father, we ask you all this in the name of your Son, Christ Jesus. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Lennox. Honorable Deputy Prime Minister Santia Bradshaw, Honorable Edmund Hinkson, Member of Parliament for St. James North. You may be seated, sorry. Senator, the Honorable Chad Blackman, Ms. Kim Tudor, Director of the NIS, Ms. Roseanne Richards, Director of the Child Care Board and also of St. James North, fellow directors, Pastor Lennox Boyce, graduates, special invitees, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. We are actually posting all the photos of the good work that the Clarkston Foundation has done on the screens, so feel free to have a look and see all the good work that this unit has been doing over the years. We are at the end of another successful program. Graduates, it's your chance to put all you have learned into practice. I will now call on our chairperson, Mistress Beverly Hinkson, to give the welcome remarks.
This is the age. Honorable Santia Bradshaw, Honorable Edmund Hinkson, the Honorable Senator Chad Blackman. We have with us the Director of NIS, Kim Tudor, Director of the Child Care Board, Mrs. Roseanne Richards, all partnering agencies, companies, individuals, graduates and family, and the media. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. On behalf of the Board of Directors of the Clarkson Foundation, Inc., we want to welcome you to this graduation ceremony. We are very proud that we can host another graduation ceremony because it shows that the programs that we are running, that persons are willing to participate and develop within the skills that they need, whether it be work and life skills or parenting, as we have done now. In 2013, when we started the Clarkson Foundation, Inc., our aim was to make sure that we could support the St. James North constituency with any social requirements, financial requirements. So these developmental programs are part of that development of the persons within the constituency. And for the last couple of years, we ran the Work and Life Skills program, but we recognized that there was a need for something else in the community, and therefore we pivoted now to the parenting program. And I do hope that you graduates will go and put the word out there that it was not for us to be judging parents, but for us to be there supporting parents, giving them the tools that they need to move forward as parents, okay? Because I think a lot of, when we were planning the program, a lot of persons thought, oh, you know, they're gonna come and we're gonna be bashing them about their parenting skills. Far from it. And I think that the graduates that stuck out the program walked away with a wealth of knowledge. The agencies that partnered with us, we can thank them no end, because when we approach these agencies, they never turn their back on us. They're always willing to work with us. So we thank them very much. I mean, obviously you're going to be thanked in the vote of thanks, but from the Board of Directors, we really want you to know that we appreciate the effort that you have put in. Also, the fact that you are here today makes the board feel we got it right, okay? Every time we put on a program, remember that we are a group of persons with diverse interests, but we're looking out for the welfare of the community. We don't know if we're going to get it right. We know we got it right with the Work on Life Skills program, because at the end of the day, 85% of the persons who graduated from those programs either found employment or were able to improve their own businesses. This is the first of the parenting programs. You have to tell us whether we got it right, what else we need to do, what we need to change, because believe me, we are going to have another one based on your feedback. So thank you very much for sticking it out with us and participating. The Clarkson Foundation could not do all of this by itself. The directors, we couldn't do it. A lot of the ability for us to be able to put on these programs comes from the people who support us every year. When we have our fundraisers, people from all across Barbados support our fundraisers. And I'm going to say, to come this year, we will be reaching out to you again for another fundraiser, for a date to be decided, at a venue to be decided. But because we need to continue with our programs, we're going to reach out to all of our supporters again to say, work with us, walk with us on this journey, where we are able to help quite a few people in the St. James North constituency. So we want to thank everybody. I'm just here to welcome you, just here to give a few remarks, to just let you know that Clarkson Foundation is going to continue its work, to ask you, those agencies who've partnered with us in the past, to partner with us again and let us continue with the programs. So everybody, welcome to this graduation, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for your remarks. It is the time for remarks by Senator Chad Blackman. But before we do that, I'm going to call on the Foundation Secretary,
responsibility in Cabinet for Latin America and the Caribbean, Africa and Arab states, external relations, legal affairs, and the ILO's Tribunal and corporate services. Minister Blackman has an LLB in law, an LLM in international trade law from the University of Essex in the United Kingdom, and is an associate member of the London-based Chartered Institute of Arbitrators. He's also fluent in French. Bienvenue, Monsieur Blackman. It gives me great pleasure to welcome him.
Oh, you're having a little joke there. It tied well, and it reminded me of my upbringing. And it ties well with what we're here for this evening. And I'll tell you why. I come from a humble neighborhood, humble origins, parents who worked hard. But what you heard in that bio just now is indicative of parents who, notwithstanding difficult circumstances, persevered and produced the man you see this afternoon. And I want to take, therefore, that as the leading point to the class who's graduating today, to say to you that your role as parents in your children's life will shape them in a positive way or a negative way. And everything that you do will impact them going forward. But ultimately, it's not only about impacting them, it's about impacting our society. And I want to take this opportunity to say, first of all, to the patron, Member of Parliament, Edmund Hinkson, and your board of the Clarkson Foundation, and all of you who have made this evening possible, and the training. I understand that you're in your 13th year, and I think it is really testament to what you've been able to do. And it comes particularly at an important time, in my view, not only in St. James North, but in Barbados. We all know the challenges sometimes that we see in society, where there's oftentimes a bit of deviance, there's oftentimes a bit of restlessness amongst our young people. But it is the parents who are the primary custodians of the behavior of our children. It is the parents who is the first level of protection, as it were, for our children. And why is that so important? You, therefore, as parents, this is not just to the graduating class, this is to everyone. How our children feel about themselves is as a result of the environment in which they operate in and they live. And words have power, as they say in the Bible. There's life and death in the power of the tongue. And oftentimes children grow up in environments where they're told sometimes how good they are and sometimes how bad they are. But you have a responsibility to ensure that even if the situation is difficult, even if it is a situation where you're under economic pressure, you're under pressure to meet your daily commitments, you must never use that as an opportunity to use that to say something negative to your child. Because why? Children are like sponges. And what you say today, they're going to store, and it may manifest in another 10 or 15 years. And therefore, you have a role to ensure that these young people that you have brought into this world continue to be good young men and women for our society. But also, why is it so important for this program? Barbados is a small country, not large by any stretch of any imagination, population-wise and geographic-wise. Continues to be a country that has some challenges, but major opportunities. And the question is, how do we now prepare our future going forward in the world to ensure that everyone that is born in this country or raised in this country can have an opportunity to impact the world? You look at Sir Garfield Sobers, you look at Rihanna, you look at our cricketers, you look at our business persons, you look at our Prime Minister, our Deputy Prime Minister, you name them. All of these are persons who have made significant contributions to the world on behalf of Barbados. But they have to start somewhere. We often see them, of course, as adults, but their environment would have prepared them for the world that we now live in today. And therefore, you, as parents, must always remember that you may be, in your household today, have within you the next Prime Minister of the country, the next captain of the West Indies cricket team, the next creator of an idea that saves, millions of lives around the world. And therefore, how you treat to them is going to be so important, but you have to start now. And when I look at the core of the program, of what it did, it didn't only help you with the parenting skills, it also allowed you to see what are some of the opportunities to advance yourself in business, going for interviews, critical things that will help you to provide for your family, and also help you to also chart your own path even further. And I want to take this opportunity also to say to the investors and private sector, not only local, but those who come to the country, these are the sorts of programs that investors ought to, in my view, partner when they come through their corporate social responsibility. And I want to say to MP Hinkson, this continues, in my view, to be one of the critical things that is your legacy. And I think that everyone should rather give you a rousing round of applause for the work that you've done for the two. If we want to talk about legacy, this, in my view, is what it looks like and feels like. But it's not only about legacy from a parliamentary perspective. The question, therefore, becomes, how can we create an environment as a country to ensure that our young people have the space to grow, to thrive, to be the best that they can be, to look in the mirror and feel that they are valued and they are worth not millions, but they're priceless. And it has to start with the parents. The government, of course, has a role to play in creating the right environment. This week in Senate, we would have debated the whole child protection bill. So the government has a role to play. The private sector has a role to play. But ultimately, the parents, you are the ones who have to create that environment to make sure that these young people grow up to be the men and women that they should be. So with those few words, I just want to encourage you and once again commend the Clarkson Foundation for this program, 13 years on. And I honestly believe that other entities across the country should use this Clarkson Foundation model to really create programs that can help parents across the country. And perhaps to the foundation, you may want to, with of course the adequate resources once they can be found, to expand this program not only to all those in St. James North, but across the country. This, in my view, is a model of best practice that must be emulated. So once again, thanks to all of you, and I wish you a fantastic afternoon, and congrats for your graduation today. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Blackman, for your kind remarks. But I also like the fact that you want us to extend this throughout the country. And you're absolutely correct, and you're in the right ministry to cause that to bear fruit. I have yet to meet a parent who hasn't failed at some point. But great parents are the ones who learn from their mistakes. And I give kudos this afternoon to the next person who will bring remarks to you, the MP for St. James North, Edmund Hinkson. He's going to be here for 5 minutes, but it will be on point, and it will be a learning experience for all of you who have not been to one of our programs to get involved with the Clarkson Foundation next time around, because this is not the end. We say that year after year, we're going to do something different. And when Mr. Hinkson actually came up with the idea, let us involve the parents this time, we were all on board. And we have not regretted it. Edmund Hinkson.
Good afternoon. Of course, I almost forgot to adjust the mic after coming after the big man. And one thing I didn't inherit from my parents was height, if I did inherit other things. So the Honorable Santia Bradshaw, who I know as San, of course. San and I, practice in the same law chambers for over a decade before we first went in cabinet, and we, of course, became elected members of Parliament on the same day, on February 21st, 2013, a month after Santia just reminded me this foundation was established. And on behalf of the constituents of St. James North, I want to thank Santia, as I did in Parliament during the estimates debate. I think the second reading, in fact, of the financial statements for the roads that have finally been done in St. James North. Finally, after 11 years as Member of Parliament, in fact 12 from the time I became a nominated candidate of the Barbados Labour Party, trying to get some roads done. And I count 12 roads that finished since December last year. Well, one not finished, Rotdunda. And boy, there's still hope that will be finished. And some people here live on Rotdunda, Santia, like Stacey. But I mean, if someone were to ask me or tell me in December that so many roads by end of April would have been finished in St. James North, I would have told them that they had to be dreaming a nonsensical dream. So thanks to Santia for that. Honorable Senator Chad Blackman here, and Chad attended one of these programs, and the directors of Clarkson Foundation, to whom I'm indebted, and directors NIS, Ms. Kim Truder, Child Care Board, Roseanne Ashby, feature speaker, Ms. Shamel Rice. And Shamel, I want to commend you for the work you've been doing in our country among women who are most vulnerable and who are most disadvantaged. And it's because of that, well, we asked you to give the feature speaker at the opening, but I think you are out the island, so happy to have you here this afternoon. And then the participants, most important people here today, who will receive your certificates, and all of those who assisted in the program, and of course the senior management of this church. We thank you for again allowing us your space to have graduation. We had our last graduation here as well, almost 2 years ago, and the media, of course. Thank you for attending and agreeing to cover this event. I first wish to praise the participants who, about only half are here. I know the rain would have kept back some, you know how it is. Today is the first day of the hurricane season. And we all know, and at the start of every hurricane season, pray to the Lord Almighty, or to the higher spirit, whichever we believe in, that Barbados is spared the adverse effects of a hurricane or storm as happened, 3 years ago. But this is typical of the weather that we're going to get for the next few months. Today starting out bright, bright, bright in St. James North, certainly. And now look at what's happening. But God will see us through, and just everyone prepare, do your best and prepare, and make sure your surrounding environments are clear and clean of debris. But participants, I'm proud of you. with parent development programs, and that was launched recently under the Ministry of Crime Prevention in the Attorney General's office. And we were happy as a foundation to lead government in this regard. As you all remember, Ministers Charles Griffith and Corey Lane came to the opening and were very impressed, and both said, Boiler, Eddie, we got to copy some of this. And when I looked at their cohorts, and you know, we sent them the outline, and they've taken some of them on board. So we look forward to the spreading of that. I know government has had a program in Speightstown recently on parent development. So this is something that we are glad to be involved in. I also wish to commend the Ministry of Crime Prevention and Tanglewood Trust, Sandy Lane Trust, who would have provided some funding for this program. Because as Chad has said, you know, a foundation like this has to look for partners, can't do it all, especially partners in financing, but also in terms of technical support. And Ministry of Crime Prevention and Sandy Lane Tanglewood Trust were happy to be able to assist in that regard. On behalf of the constituents, I want to thank the Clarkson Foundation. I couldn't do this by myself. It is always great to have a foundation, people, directors, people who you know you can depend on and who will back you in anything. And I'm indebted to you all for this. As my wife said, the chairman of the board, we will look to have one more fundraiser later this year, certainly for the benefit of the people of St. James North. After the next election, we will still have the foundation, but you could appreciate that Chad speaks about expanding to the whole of Barbados. Don't know about that. Maybe in terms of disabilities, for that one, to look for a national profile in terms of disabilities, which, as everybody knows, is my core public policy issue. So in terms of future projects, you all are well aware that summer is soon up. We're soon near the end of the semester, final semester, and obviously we'll be distributing school vouchers again in August to those most vulnerable parents, and then we'll be carrying out, as we always do, the graduating classes of St. Albans and Gordon Greenwich, together with Minister Colin Jordan, who will carry out, children from St. Peter. From the time he became a nominated candidate, we've been doing that jointly. And then, of course, school prizes for graduations, etc. So there's still work to be done. But of course, we'll have a fundraiser later in the year to raise funds to finance for beyond that period. So I've spoken enough, and I thank you all for being present through the rain, and we look forward to you getting your certificates and to Simone's speech. Thank you. Obliged.
Synopsis of what the Clarkson Foundation Inc. does. And we do it well each and every time. There are working directors, and it gives me great pleasure right now to call on another director, Hadford Howell, JP, MBE, to introduce our featured speaker, Miss Shamel Rice of Jabeb's House, a haven of hope and empowerment for women. Hadford.
Thank you, Faye. The Honourable Santia Bradshaw, MP, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Public Works and Transport, a guest speaker. Senator the Honourable Chad Blackman, Minister in the Ministry of Economic Affairs. The Honourable Edmund Hinkson, SC MP, patron of the Clarkson Foundation. Mrs. Beverly Smith Hinkson, Chairman of the Foundation, fellow directors of the Foundation. Reverend Lennox Boyce, Pastor of the Garden Church of God. Mrs. Charnel Rice, Founder and Chief Executive Officer, Jabez House, our featured speaker. Graduands, soon to be graduates, and members of your family, friends, and supporters. Specially invited guests, there are a few I've heard mentioned. Members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. A wonderful, though wet, good afternoon to everyone. It is my distinct pleasure and great honor to introduce to you our featured speaker at this afternoon's Parent Education and Personal Development Programs graduation ceremony themed Empowered Parents for Effective Parenting. Wife, mother, friend, social entrepreneur, empowerment expert, art and wellness consultant. A mouthful, right? These are just 6 titles that Mrs. Charnel Rice wears proudly. As such, she is well equipped and suited to offer remarks as our featured speaker at this afternoon's graduation ceremony. Jabez House is a Barbadian registered charity. It was established, and I quote, to be a safe haven for female sex workers, facilitating their transition process from sex work via access to alternative economic empowerment opportunities. And it is fitting that on her CV presented to me, it says, empowering women, transforming lives. From the age of 14, Mrs. Rice has felt an overwhelming urge to work with vulnerable women. In 2012, she ventured into the unknown and so quit her job as an art teacher of 4 years, thus giving physical birth, as it were, to what has been in her heart for years, Jabez House. So since 2012, Jabez House program have reached out to over 700 sex workers, resulting with many women leaving that trade. Mrs. Rice has received numerous awards, with her work being recognized nationally and internationally. One such award of note came from the late Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II at Buckingham Palace in July of 2016. Outside of her work with Jabez House, Mrs. Rice has, from childhood, in her words, been a hustler, selling drinks at school, making jewelry, teaching lessons, cleaning house, and more, ever being ready to try new pursuits. She lives to see people empowered, living their lives on or with a purpose. Mrs. Rice is married to Mr. Anderson Rice, her wonderful husband of almost 15 years, who is, in her words, her best friend and the one who encourages her in all of her pursuits. They are parents of 2 beautiful daughters, Ariel and Keros. She trusts in God, as we all should do, to order her steps. Ladies and gentlemen, I proudly present to you Mrs. Charnel Rice, our featured speaker.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Shamel Rice. That's Mel as in melon, Rice as in rice and peas. But I'm accustomed to all of the variations of my name, so I will not hold it against you. Good evening, everyone. Honorable Santia Bradshaw, Honorable Edmund Hinkson, Honorable Chad Blackman, the directors of the Clarkson Foundation, many other invited guests, and of course, the graduands, soon to be the graduates, and all of the little people running around this evening, the media, good evening again. In trying to think of what I should have shared today, there were so many thoughts that came to mind. And I had a whirlwind of emotions, to be honest. Some stories from childhood came back to me. One in particular, I remember coming home at 13. I came home a little bit early that evening. And at the time, we lived in this very small one-room house. If this is like where the platform is, our house was probably about here. It really was a very, very small one-room house. We had no running water inside. We had a pit toilet. Barely a couple of lights. I can't really call it electricity because we used to, get some current from next door. And my mother was this young single parent who had had my brother at 16. She had had me at 18. My next brother by 20, and then my other brother. So as you can imagine, this is this young single woman with 4 children. We are very poor. She's struggling and she's trying to make ends meet. And I remember this evening in particular coming home earlier than maybe she had expected. And I wasn't even expecting to see her at home because at that time she was working. But I heard all of these sobs and like somebody was crying, and it was kind of strange to me. And there was this little curtain that kind of parted off what I guess would be like a makeshift bedroom from the rest of the house. And when I pulled it around, I saw my mother sitting on the bed crying, and there was blood and snot and everything coming down from her nose. And as a girl, like, I was terrified. I like broke down crying because my mother was like the strongest woman I knew. Like I had never ever really seen her cry, never, because like she's a single parent, she got it together, right? Which a lot of times women, we are expected to do. And to make a long story short, she had been in a bit of an altercation altercation might be too strong a term. She and her then partner got into some sort of argument, and in his anger, he had hit her in her face with a bicycle pump. So they broke her nose and everything. And for some reason, that particular evening, it kind of shattered something in me because it moved my mother from being this woman of strength to being someone that was also still very human. I didn't see it as weakness at all because all I ever saw from her was strength. If our little pipe outside wasn't working, she was gonna fix it. If the galvanized lift up or there was rain coming in, she was on that rooftop patching that hole. She was just always making it happen. But in that moment, I understood that as strong as she was, life can still happen. And I've always tried to remember that even as a woman, and know that I'm a mother, even although you may be all things to all people, especially your children, you're always still human, and sometimes life will happen. That's okay. It's not a strike against you. It's not a mark against you as an individual. But what encouraged me even from that time to know is I saw her move from that place. I cannot ever recall then, in how much ever years beyond, ever seeing her in a place then where she was vulnerable or where things happened. And I don't know if it was because of me coming home and seeing her, if it did something to her as her only girl child, and she said, all right, this must not happen, I don't know. But I would say that she is the strongest woman to this day that I know. And I know oftentimes she would look at me and she would say, Shamel, I'm so proud of the girl you've become, the woman you've turned out to be. And I feel like I owe it all to my mother, yeah? So, yeah, she's not someone who went to school long and had any fancy education or did anything, but the strength that I saw her demonstrate, even as a single parent, roughing it and making it happen for us was incredible. We had many days of being hungry, of not having enough, And even in those moments, she always encouraged us and said, you know, whatever little you have, you be thankful for. If it was that we had to eat bakes every day, and they talking about eating bakes till you're bone, we made it happen, all right? And there were so many values over the years that she instilled in us. I remember having this one t-shirt that someone gave me, and this jeans, and that was like my best outfit, right? And she would always say, even if this is the only thing you have, Shamel, when you leave this house, make sure you look clean and decent. And she would always tell us about being mannerly, about being polite, and you know, all of those things that she shared at school. Yes, a lot of the students and the teachers especially knew that I was the poor girl at school, but you know what? They loved me. And why? Because I was mannerly, because I was polite, because I was helpful, right? And what that ended up doing was creating opportunities for me and opening doors for me. So I remember at my primary school graduation, emerging as the valedictorian. And some people were surprised because there were other children, I guess, who were brighter and had a lot more access to resources, but maybe some others probably weren't as surprised. But what stood out to me at that graduation, after delivering my remarks, I went back and sat down, and coming on to the end, one of my teachers, she came and she pulled me aside. She said, Shamal, come, where's your mother? And she got my mom and she took us outside she said, I want to introduce you to someone. And she introduced us to this gentleman, and his name is Hilford Morrill. And she said, you know, Mr. Morrill, I know you help people, you know, you help children and in the community. No, I don't know if you can help this little girl, but she got a lot of potential. And the mother, you know, she's struggling, but and she made a whole pitch to this man on why you should help this woman and this little girl. And he agreed then and there to help me, you know, help my mother out with whatever I needed. And I was going into QC, and I can tell you that for my entire life at Queen's College, this man bought every single uniform, bought every single book, gave me a monthly allowance to make sure that I could get to school, you know, and he would always check in, and the only condition was, you need to bring your report at the end of every term that I see it, that I know you're staying on track. There were no strings attached. He was never inappropriate. This was all. And I remember finishing sixth form and thinking of what I would want to do. And now I'm 18. So I'm thinking, well, my mother already still will be roughing it. She has zero responsibility to me as now a young woman, you know, still trying to deal with what she has to do, to expect her to continue to support me. And I remember going and talking to Mr. Morrill. I can't remember how we ended up meeting up. And he said, so what are your plans now that you're done school? I said, well, you know, I think I'm gonna go look for a job because at 18, you know, things rough still. I really, you know, I want to be able to help my mother and to do more. He said, but what would you really like to do? I said, well, really what I would like to do is to go to university. Like, I mean, all of my friends were going to university. I mean, most of them were going overseas, but I was like, I'll be the first person in my whole family to even go to university. This is amazing. And he said, okay, so you got the forms, what are you gonna do? I said, well, you know, I just don't have the money. And I really felt like at 18, I just could not ask that of someone. Anyway, he said, get the forms, submit the forms, I'm going to pay for it. And he also paid my entire way through university. And all along, so though he was, yes, the person who financially assisted me and provided for me in terms of being able to access opportunities educationally, my mother was the person who, I would say, really helped to cultivate a desire for more in my life, right? She really helped to, you know, help me to see beyond where we were. Even if I had a thought or an idea, my mother was never someone who said, that's a good idea. Remember at QC, I would go to school, I used to sell dunks at school. I mean, anything you could think of, I was selling. That was legal and above board, all right? All right, let me just say that. I see some old QC people here. But, you know, she was always somebody, because I saw how industrious she was, My mother never had shame. I remember as a young girl seeing men come around trying to proposition her because they saw her vulnerability. And at the time I didn't understand it. I understood some of the curse words that come out she mouth, you know what I mean? Like telling them where to get off. But in all of that, she had this kind of, motto, or rather, I understood it to be this way now as an adult, I will die with my dignity. Even if my children go hungry, we can go hungry first. That was kind of her thing. But beyond that, if it was cleaning houses, doing whatever, she used to get it done. Even to this day, my mother, I do not know anybody who probably works as hard as my mother still. Some days, like today we were talking, I said, but Mommy, you see you off today? Yeah, you're off this weekend, man, And then she going on with work. And I was like, so you're off tomorrow too? You can get some rest, because she's just, I think in a way, like a bit of a workaholic. But oftentimes I reflect on even some of my own value systems, and it largely is because of my mother. Now this may sound like all of these stories that I am rambling off with and sharing. Why am I sharing this? Because it's easy sometimes when you see somebody to see them there and not know anything about them. I don't know anything about you, other than me sitting looking across and saying, you these women look good, boy. I was like, all right, sis, I see you. Really dolled up. We outside. We here today, sweet right off, right? But there is humanity in all of us. And just as every person has a journey, there is a story, there's something that has led you to this point. I want to encourage you, especially as mothers, you do not know. And the father, oh my goodness, it's Fabian, right? Is that the name they said? Fabian, I really want to commend and salute you, right? Because this is honorable. As the lone man, I'm sure after the first few sessions, he could have been like, yo, he easily could have said, look, every week I get on there with a bunch of women. I stop at home, I go watch a little TV or wrestling. How many children do you have? 2. Girls or boys? 2 boys. 2 boys? All right, 2 boys. Now let me tell you, right? Your children are going to love you all the more for it, for the father that you have evolved into, right? My father was nowhere in my life. Still to this day, he's not. And I remember as a girl being so angry and so upset for so many years with my father. And I was just like, but you know what? If he isn't present, he isn't present. I had to work through that, release it, and move along. But know that I'm a parent, and I have 2 girls, although I always used to see myself as a boy mom. I don't know, it was the same with boys, maybe because I only have brothers, I don't know. But I now have 2 girls, and my girls, I might as well be chopped liver when it comes to their father. I'm like, yeah, I'm not the one who had winner, right? But when you see them interact with their father, the way he dotes on them and loves them, I am always just so, my heart is always so warm, because there's something, mothers can do their best. And I tell them, my mother did everything she could do. But you see a father, fathers are important, hands down. So bless you on this, yeah? So I digress, but I thought that was an important digression to honor you. But with my mother, and seeing just all that she did, today as I reflect on my life and as I sit and reflect and I look over at you, I think like these women are some amazing creatures. And in case you've not heard it yet for the day, I'm telling you, you are amazing women. And the man, of course, right? And being a mother is one of the most fulfilling, yet overwhelming, yet exhausting, yet frustrating, yet everything you could think of, right? And as much as you enjoy it, there's some days that you wish you could run away. Or maybe that was just me. Sorry, let me speak for myself. Let me speak for myself. You just feel so, I got you, boo. But no, it can be a lot sometimes. So anytime there are opportunities that you can grow and develop as a person, that can only serve to benefit your child, your children. And when I look at my mother, when I think through all of the different seasons in my life that I have seen her go through, even to this day, and what our relationship looks like now, I'm happy that I've seen all of that because at every single stage, every single situation I've seen her wrestle through and conquer, it demonstrated an incredible resilience in her that I also felt, well, Shamel, if your mother had half the resources or less than you have right now, and she made it, there's nothing, that you have no excuse, right? So parents play a very, very important role in the lives of their children, and by extension, the society, as echoed earlier. And I'm telling you, there is something that is very God-ordained in being a parent, yeah? So I can't stay here the entire evening, but before I leave, there are 3 things I want to challenge you on as parents, all right? Firstly, I want you going forward from this day to make a deliberate effort to celebrate yourself. Now, what do I mean by celebrate yourself? Celebrating yourself does not necessarily mean going out and dressing up and a whole do-down, although it could mean that. But what are some of the wins? What are some of the things that when you look at the person you were 9 weeks, 11 weeks before the program started to the person you are today, there must be some growth that has taken place in your life. And that's something to celebrate. As women especially, I want to challenge you every single day, or if you can't do it every day, as much as possible, more days in a week than not. I want you to stand in the mirror and remind yourself of how amazing you are. And not just amazing, but that you deserve good things in life, right? Because I'm sure you probably have your own stories. But celebrating yourself is important. It's good to get affirmation from on the outside, but you can have people all around you celebrating you and telling you all of the best things. But if you first do not have those conversations with your own self, then the voices on the outside will really just be like water off a duck's back. So you want to celebrate yourself. Find ways that you can honor yourself. That may be on evenings. Your children, when they go down, you go outside and you just take a few minutes outside just to walk without your cell phone, without anything, and just to breathe. It may be something like just going to the beach. It may be telling yourself, listen, at the end of every week, I deserve a scoop of ice cream. I mean, if you could handle the ice cream, 1 scoop don't do that for me. So I try to stay away from the ice cream, you understand, right? But you get what I'm saying. Celebrate yourself. Find ways to celebrate yourself and the wins that you make. Every single win is a win. Sometimes you wait until it's the big, fancy stuff. When every single day or every single thing that you were able to just improve even a little bit at, every time you were able to shut your mouth instead of cursing off somebody or, that's the win. We celebrate ourselves. The next thing I want is for you to continue to commit to yourself. What do I mean by that? You showed up every single Saturday morning, and that was good because there was structure, there was a program, there was this, it was, okay, I'm going to do this. But when there is no structure, when there's no program, how are you committing to yourself beyond that? And you can only be the best parent, the best partner, the best business owner, the best employee, the best whoever, when you are the best version of yourself. How are you committing to yourself? You must be committed to your own personal development and being committed to working hard on you. What may that look like? Reading, listening to things that will edify and encourage you. If you don't like reading, go on YouTube, watch some video or something. There's something out there that can help you, to continue to grow. It's essentially what I want to communicate to you. And then, outside of celebrating yourself and committing first and foremost to yourself, I want you to continue to construct. What do I mean by construct? Look at the life you want to build for yourself and by extension, your children, right? What are we constructing? How are we constructing? A lot of times, we may have to evaluate some of the people or the things that we attach ourselves to if we want to build. Sometimes building and growth is painful because there is a lot of digging up and drilling and, getting deep down to proper foundation in order to go up. But that process of doing the hard work is important, especially if you're going to have something that's going to be long lasting, that's going to be not eternal, but even beyond you. I think of my mother, and I think of my grandmother, and I think of so many of the women in my life who I have still. But I am ever mindful that day is going to come and I'm not going to have them. Last year, my grandmother had a fall, and no, anybody who knows me knows how much I love my grandmother and how close we are. And I remember waking up this morning to so many calls on my phone, and it was that my granny had fallen down these stairs. And I felt like, my phone, I didn't even hear my phone, and anyway, fast track, she's fine. She ended up breaking her hip and all that. So last year was quite a bit, in terms of her recovery. And the woman that she was a year ago who may come over to my house and help me with my children do all this, she's now figuring out, getting back on her own 2 feet, walking a bit better now, struggling through, feeling like if she's not really able to add as much value as she did before. But I'm mindful that a day is going to come when my mother and my grandmother and even me won't be here. And I don't want to sound morbid, but these are things that I think about. And I think about what would I want my children to remember of me. I think about my mother, my grandmother, what are the things I will remember about them? So because I'm always thinking ahead, it really impacts a lot of things that I give myself to now, right? Things that I give my attention to now. There's some people I like, don't call me, don't message me, I'm not interested, I'm not available, go from me. That might just be it. There's some places I may just choose not to go because I am very, I'm focused on what I want. And family is important to me. I have two daughters, a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. And my daughter, they were going to spend a day today by their grandparents. And this afternoon, my 7-year-old used the grandparents' phone and called and said, "Mommy, Kite is burning up. She's burning up." I was like, "What do you mean she's burning up?" Anyway, she's coming in with a bug, and she has this really bad fever today and this headache and everything. So before I came, I called the doctor because I was like, do I bring her? You started to go into this mommy mode. And in my head, I'm thinking, because then she came on the phone then, because they're their grandparents, and she's like, "Mommy," she's crying. She said, "I want you. Come and get me," And I'm like, but I can't go and come and get you because then I have you. Then I can't go this evening, and I already committed to this evening. And I'm having this whole tug of war because I can't just cancel, right? And I was really looking forward to coming, and I'm really happy that I'm here. But I'm saying all that to say, my family is always important. At the end of the day, regardless of the awards or the people that you're doing such good work with Jabez House, and that's good, but you got 2 girls in your house that your first responsibility is to them. The woman that you are, you're first responsible to them and also to yourself. And I want to challenge you, as I challenge myself, to, say, yeah, I'm going to put in the work for me and for my children. I'm going to become the best version of myself through the help of God and maybe those He may put in my life, or programs like the one you just went in, that you just came through, so that at the end of the day, I can leave something behind. More than just tangible resources, though that would be great, I wish my family had some money they put down, but what they have instilled and what they have deposited in me as a young woman far surpasses that. So today, be encouraged. You made this journey. Your children, though they may not fully understand everything now, I know that you're going to be so much better for it as an individual, but really for them, you will be. And beyond today, continue just to commit to yourself and to your development so that we can see the society and the communities that we would ideally want, especially for our children to grow up in. Yeah? All right. So I'm going to land the plane here, but I want to thank you. I really want to thank the Clarkson Foundation for inviting me. I want to commend you as well on just the amazing work that you have been doing. I honestly hadn't known about the foundation prior to the first invitation, but sitting there and hearing about the work that you've done all of these years, and even seeing so many of the things come up. This is really some incredible work and work that needs to be continued. So to everyone who has made this possible, I commend you and I celebrate you all this evening as well. Thank you.
Graduates, a lot of food for thought. We are empowering lives and empowering women. And at this point, we have another lady who is going to come to speak to you, our guest speaker for the evening, the Honorable Santia Bradshaw. But before she makes her way to the stage, I am going to call on another director, our youngest director by far, but one who has a lot of ideas and who is responsible for all the marketing that we have in our foundation, none other than the young Erica Hinkson.
Thank you so much for your kind words, Faye. That was very touching. Good afternoon, everyone. How's everybody feeling? I'm feeling really pumped after all of the very inspirational speeches. Thank you for your words. I know you guys are feeling as inspired as I am to be an even better parent. So it is my honor this evening to introduce the Deputy Prime Minister of Barbados, the Honorable Santia Bradshaw. The Honorable Santia Bradshaw was officially sworn in as the Deputy Prime Minister on the 26th of January 2022 and has held ministerial portfolios as Minister of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, 2018 to 2022, and as Minister of Transport, Works and Water Resources, 2022 to 2023. However, the Deputy Prime Minister is no stranger to active politics. She was first appointed to the Barbados Senate on November 9th, 2010, and was later elected to the House of Assembly as the Member of Parliament for the constituency of St. Michael South East on February 21st, 2013 in the general elections. During her time as an opposition MP, she also held the position of Leader of the Opposition Business in the House, and since her entry into elected politics, she has served as the Leader of Government Business. On May 27, 2018, she was appointed to her first ministerial role as Minister of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, where she successfully championed policies which invested in curriculum reforms, teacher training, and various infrastructural and beautification projects to refurbish and upgrade educational institutions. As Minister of Transport, Works and Water Resources, she has spearheaded several transport, water, and road infrastructural projects. Moreover, Deputy Prime Minister Bradshaw is a qualified barrister and attorney at law, and a former honorary secretary of the Barbados Bar Association. She is also an accomplished entrepreneur and founder of one of the leading artist representation and booking agencies in the Caribbean, known as Pyramid Entertainment. An impassioned activist, Deputy Prime Minister Bradshaw is actively engaged in various community activities. She is the former football manager of the Academics Football Club and works closely with sporting organizations across St. Michael's Southeast to develop players born on and off the field. She has hosted several workshops focused on literacy, entrepreneurship, personal development, and life skills. She also boasts of opening the first privately owned community center, which delivers a myriad of social and educational services and activities that caters to all ages. As the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Transport and Works, she remains resolute in her mission to write her name on history's page as she seeks to transform public transportation and road infrastructure across the island. Let's put all our hands together as we give a big round of applause for Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Santia Bradshaw.
Thank you so much, Erica. A pleasant good evening to everyone. Good evening. Good. Colleague Minister Chad Blackman and MP Hinkson, members of the board of the Clarkson Foundation, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and of course, the single most important people in the room this evening, the graduates, the parents who have participated in the Parent Education and Personal Development Program 2024. Please give them a round of applause. I want to first of all thank the Clarkson Foundation, the Board of Trustees, for the invitation to permit me to be able to address this gathering this evening. When Eddie first called, and I say Eddie, he calls me San, I call him Eddie. That is the familiarity that we have. But when Eddie first called me and asked me to speak, I mean, it's not the first time he's called, but on different occasions to be able to speak in the constituency, it's been challenging in terms of the scheduling. But I told him that there's no way that I could not attend this evening once I was on island and once my schedule was clear. And it was also because of the topic, also because of the engagement that he has put together in terms of this particular program, which I personally feel very strongly about. And I do feel that it is necessary for all of us as representatives to play a part in being able to make our parents more effective in terms of being good parents. So I want to commend you, Eddie, for this exercise, and certainly to the entire Board of Trustees. The fact that I have not spoken in your constituency before, I think you have said it already, that I have been quite generous in roads in the particular St. James North area. So I guess you could say, even though you have not seen me on a platform, you have felt me across the constituency of St. James North. And I want to say a bit about that before I get into the substantive conversation with you this evening, because for those who know Edmund, Edmund is probably one of the few representatives that constantly bombards ministries to get things done in his constituency, and I makes no bones about it. If people have asked me for 6 roads in a constituency, I can guarantee that Eddie is asking me for 66. Okay? So it is in no short measure that, you cannot ignore Edmund Hinkson when it comes to representation in his constituency, and certainly in terms of the programs that he is prepared to put together with his team for the benefit and the upliftment of the people in this community who have supported him, obviously, over the years. Now, Eddie and I started out our careers as elected representatives back in 2013. And it was a journey which would have started out in opposition, but one which would have given us both the opportunity to be able to, in a sense, be on the other side to see what was really needed in terms of when we got to government, what were some of the programs that we needed to develop in order to make sure that we didn't make mistakes of things that went in the past. We both started charities. I have a charity called the Make a Difference Foundation, again, which was started even before I became part of active politics, because I would like to think that that has been part and parcel of who I am in terms of trying to give back and try to be of service to country. I come from a background where I came out of a political family. My father was a representative of the same constituency that I hold today, and the only thing I have known my entire life is service. Service to people, service to country, giving of your last, making sure that, if you have more than you need, that you are in a position to be able to help, to uplift, and to make life better for other people. So making a difference is the name of the foundation that I have, and that is certainly the mantra of how I live my life as well. Now, it is important that these types of programs exist. We appreciate, I think, the fact that there are some people who want to give and they don't quite know how to give. I'm sure, there are many entities that are out there, many people who are thinking about starting organizations, and sometimes it is difficult to start a cause because you don't know sometimes where the resources are going to come from. So it's important that we acknowledge and that we encourage people who want to give to be able to find vehicles to be able to give back to society. And that is what some of these charities, the Clarkson Foundation, certainly my own foundation and others, are there to do. Jebel House is also another perfect example of an entity that has found a way with the leadership, and I want to commend you, Shamel, for the work that you have been doing. I think this is the second time I've been in the same space with you, and I must tell you, I am totally impressed. And I feel as though, there's so much more for you on the horizon. It is not easy to get up on a platform and tell a story and a journey of where you have come from, but how you've been able to land on your feet and to be able to empower not just the women in this room, but I think to be able to empower the men as well. Because in your story, you were also able to talk about the fact that, your mother was strong enough to say, enough is enough. And we need to be able to tell these stories in these forums where it makes it a little easier for women and men to appreciate when you got to call a spade, when you have to say, in the interest of my children, in the interest of my own self-preservation, enough is enough, and I'm not willing to tolerate, I am in a church, so I'm not really able to tolerate nonsense from nobody, but y'all understand what I'm saying. And it is important that people like Shamel and others are able to stand here and share with you in this forum, but also in the workshops as well, their own experiences, because you never know who can be inspired by your journey as well. And I think many of you know my own journey has been shared publicly in terms of my journey with breast cancer. And, I believe that it heals you as well. Because when you are open about your journey and you're making a difference, it also empowers others to be able to have the courage and the bravery to be able to stand up and say, you know what, I need to do things differently. I want to begin, though, this evening echoing the sentiments of everybody who else has spoke before me in offering congratulations to all of the graduates. And I, like Shamel, would like to single out Fabian, not because he's a handsome young man, but because Shamel is correct that, you could have taken one look at the gathering and said, you know what, it's too much women, honestly, in the room. There are some men, clearly, who might like the fact that they're the only man in the room with all the women, and perhaps you enjoyed it so much, and I'm sure the women looked after you as well, as I'm sure you would have looked after them. But when I asked Eddie about the participation, and he told me that, there was only one male, I found it a little concerning, because I even went on to ask him, I said, so how did you identify who would participate in the program? Because I think there's no mystery in terms of what is happening in our society. We have a lot of challenges, in particular with our young men, but we also need to make sure that we have good role models in terms of father figures, because as we raise our girl children, we are raising our girl children to also enter into relationships with men. So it is important that we don't forget that you have to also instill a level of parenting on the men in our society as well. This is not a conversation for women alone, but this is a conversation about a society. And I think that you have demonstrated as a group, obviously, your commitment to improving yourself, to improving and doing something which is out of the box, because nobody wrung your hand and said you have to come into this program. Each of you determined that this was something that once offered that you wanted to participate in. And I think that you can be that beacon for other people, for other women and other programs that are out there, where you can now not just take the knowledge that you have gleaned from this program, but certainly be that advocate for parenting programs. Be that advocate for the female friend that you know who has not participated in the program, but who you believe could benefit from what you have learned. And to don't keep the information to yourself, but to share the information. Take the information, and if your children are old enough, or even if they aren't old enough, because our children are sponges, you have to find a mechanism for being able to impart the knowledge that you have gleaned on this program, and in your own way, break it down for your children so that they are able to understand the principles, what is required of you as a parent to be able to raise young men and women to be the future generations of this country. Now, some may ask, what authority does the Deputy Prime Minister have, and what credentials do I have to stand here today and talk to y'all about parenting? Because I ain't got no children. I have no biological children of my own. I tip my hat to all women who have given birth, especially who have gone there once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. Kudos to you. I chose a path that was different in that I made a decision early on that, having been raised in a household where my father was absent for most of the time in public life, I realized that, boy, if I'm going to get into politics, it can really be a struggle to have to balance both work and the interests of constituents. Because I found Dad left me at everybody's house in St. Michael's Southeast and went off canvassing for most afternoons, and then would pick me back up later. And therefore, it worked in the sense that it made me understand service and have a better understanding of the needs of communities. But in terms of that relationship, there was a little void in my early days of upbringing that I didn't see him as much as I would like. I didn't have the experiences with him that many people might have as with a father. We didn't fly kites together. Sometimes he would always be late for the graduations because he had a cabinet meeting. So despite all that, what he did do, though, was he provided. He made sure that if I was sick, at the time I was living down Brandon, so Shafet was nearby, so I always got a roti, so I knew he cared. If he went away, he would make sure that there was always something that he was bringing home in terms of some trinket to be able to say, this is where I have been, and this is a reminder of, I was thinking of you while I was on the trip. It wasn't financial alone. It was a simple gesture to say, look, I am of service to the people out here. They need me. Your mother, your grandmother, your sister, and the rest of the extended family got you, and I going out there and I doing what I have to do. So while I did not come up with that broken household, equally I would say that I also didn't have perfection. And the relationship I have with my father today, most people will tell you that, we are inseparable, because that was a period of his life where he gave to the people, but he also helped me to understand what it meant to give back. And therefore, now I am in a position to look after him. Because one of the things that I was raised to understand from early is that you have to honor your mother and your father. I was made to understand that in the same way they provide for you, you have to in turn provide for them. And so, these are all things that I am able to speak of today because of how I was raised. It's not because I am a parent in terms of biological. I raised a stepson. He was actually high functioning autistic. He's what they call has Asperger's syndrome. And I would say, and I'm sure there are some of you who have children who are somewhere on the spectrum. They won't keep quiet when they go into a church. They won't keep quiet when they go into the classroom. You carry them to a restaurant, they're fidgeting. At the time, my stepson, did not understand social cues. So he couldn't read when people were looking at him kind of funny and saying, what are you doing? With your eyes, you often speak. But because of his condition, it was challenging to be able to make and to connect the dots. Things like a tag in the back of his shirt was a problem, because for children who have Asperger's, everything is more sensitive. You're highly sensitive to whatever is strange on the skin. Noise was a problem. If something was too loud, even though to the rest of us in the room, it wasn't that loud, to him, it was magnified tenfold. So I say all that, and I'm doing a bit of sharing as well, because I know that sometimes people say, well, you are a politician, so y'all don't have the same experiences we do. I believe that it is important to share with you so you understand that even as a policymaker, that we have experiences as well that shape us as well. We're not just born with gold spoons in our mouth. We are not persons who are removed from the realities of what is happening in our society, but we too are shaped by things that have happened to us and that have made us who we are today as well. So I recall when an unfortunate comment was made where I think it was former Prime Minister Thompson's wife who said that both the Prime Minister and myself were childless, and therefore we couldn't relate in terms of what it was to be a parent. And what was funny, because there was such a public outcry at the time, Eddie was in Parliament with me as well, sought to defend the comments at the time, because just earlier that day, both the Prime Minister and myself had been called into the opposition office at the time to meet with a young man whose parent felt that he would benefit from the counsel of the two of us speaking to him and giving him a good talk about how to keep on the straight and narrow. And it didn't matter that we didn't have children, but we understood that, you know what, we had, in a sense, good parents, a good foundation, and therefore we could, in a sense, impart a level of knowledge and understanding to this young man that would perhaps stop him from being able to get himself into trouble, okay? So I say that to say that, yes, the biological side is important, but there are people who, because of their love for children, because of their understanding for children, also do a lot of parenting. And in that way, I think that, what we are missing nowadays too is this issue of the extended family. Because I benefited from a grandmother who made sure I went to church every Sunday, every Saturday, and during the week to youth circle, and gave me a foundation of references to Proverbs and to the Psalms. So when it comes to things like, a soft answer turneth away wrath and grievous words stir up anger, people ask, Santi, why you be so cool? Why am I cool? I'm cool because I have a foundation which says to me, sometimes you got to turn the other cheek. In everything that you should be so fast to say. Sometimes you need to analyze things before you open your mouth and you talk. And I say all that to say that, yes, these things have helped to inform who I am, but I would want to encourage all of you as parents. Now, I don't go to church every Sunday, right? I attend a lot of funerals, I attend a lot of weddings, perhaps more funerals than weddings. So I am often in a church. And regardless of my journey, because I'm very spiritual, I believe that I have benefited from understanding right and wrong in terms of some biblical principles. They say, raise up a child in the way it should go, and as it gets older, it will never depart from it. Now, raising the child could be in the church, or it could be as a parent, you determining what is right and what is wrong based on a moral compass, and being able to instill in that child a level of compassion, a level of faith, a level of spirituality. So it doesn't mean that you have to be in a hallowed wall of a church, but equally, if you choose to do so, there's nothing wrong with that. Because most of us grew up in an environment where we had to come to church, and we had to do Sunday school, and we learned all of the biblical parables and all of the things related to what was right and wrong that helped to be able to guide us. And what we're finding now is that there are a lot of people who, reject perhaps coming into a formal institution, but at the same time, they are not instilling anything else to be able to help to make children decipher right from wrong. Now, I am one who believes there must be balance. If you can't find it one way, you got to find it another way. And what we need to do is to get back to those basics. If you're going to go to church, and don't just send the children to church. Go with the children. Go and hear and listen what it is that is to what is being said, what is being taught, so that when they have questions of you, you can also explain of them. That is what good parenting is about. That is what effective parenting is about. Too often our parents disconnect themselves from what is happening from the schoolwork, from, the things that our children are being exposed to. And therefore, somebody else ends up raising your children and not you. Because you can't answer a lot of the questions because you have not kept up with the times. You've not kept up with the technology. You don't know what they're listening to. You don't know what they're watching. And therefore, if you're going to be effective, you got to know the tools, the technology that your children are interfacing with on a daily basis. Now, I'm not telling you go and do a degree in it, but I'm saying you got to pay attention to the cell phones. I come across parents who, again, are caught up because we live in an age where people are caught up in a lot of materialism. People feel that it is about presence, presents, and not about having a presence in a child's life, presence. And if we could just pause for a moment and think about that it is better to have a presence, a physical presence of spending time with your children, listening to your children. You may be overwhelmed and overworked, but at the same time, sometimes it is just those few minutes where you get to talk to your children that can tell you so much about what is happening in their lives. I run, as Eddie, the others had said earlier, I run a community center, and I would tell you, right, the things that these children can tell you is happening from in their households to their schools. It would do well for parents to pay attention and to have a conversation with them. They can tell you a lot of what is going on. They can tell you the teachers who are teaching. They can tell you about the bullying. They're going to tell you about the influences that are coming into the school compound. They're going to tell you all the things that you don't realize are happening, but that as a parent, if you are to be effective in telling them, well, no, you mustn't do this, or no, you mustn't do that, or you might do it a different way, you can't know if you're not having the conversation with the children in the first place. And I always say to people, people ask, well, Santia, in my constituency, I have every child referring to me as Auntie Santia. And why? Because that's how I was raised. My father, no matter who the person was across the political divide, there were Auntie Santia and there were Auntie John and Uncle Elizabeth, whatever, okay? It was a measure of respect. The person did not have to be related to me. They did not have to be in any way connected whatsoever. But once you met somebody, your child was told, Santia, this is uncle, this person, this is auntie, whoever. And of course, as a child, I'm looking at my mother and I'm going, who? But they're related. But I dare not, because, I also was raised with the look. I don't know if you're all familiar with the look, but my mother used to give me a look. And when she gave me the look, I had to run for cover. Right? I'm not one, and people know I am not one for corporal punishment, because having raised a child with Asperger's syndrome, I do not believe, I know that there are other children out there like that are on the spectrum. And just the raising of the hand, the speaking too loudly to a child can do psychological damage. Where the of people needing, financial assistance, I became sensitive to the issues of parents having to choose which child would go to extracurricular activities because they don't have the money to be able to determine that all children should go. So somebody can get left out because you don't have the funding to be able to do it. I became sensitive to the children who were special needs and needed in examinations, for instance, to be able to have larger print or to have an assistant in the room to be able to assist them. All these things influenced me as Minister of Education. But perhaps what has influenced me the most in terms of how Eddie, myself, Chad, and all of us engage in cabinet has been my time as a parliamentary representative. St. Michael Southeast is like home for me. Everybody in the constituency, for the most part, is like well, if they're a god brother or a god sister, sometimes I feel my father step outside because some people look like me as well, but as a private joke. But they are family. And I have had to preside, and I share this with you because you are raising the next generation. And I don't know what your children will become. I hope they become a positive statistic and not a negative statistic. But I have dealt with enough situations of parents who don't pay attention to their children's activities. Parents who don't reach out and do the parenting programs, who don't reach out and ask for the assistance. And then the children end up in jail. The children end up dead. And what perhaps has been the most painful thing for me as a political representative has been the children who their parents did every single thing to make sure that they were on the straight and narrow path. Send them to school, make sure they get a good education, get a job. And then they're in a neighborhood in what, I got a densely populated area. They're in a neighborhood coming off from work or going to see a friend, and they get murdered by a stray bullet. Having no connection whatsoever to do with the criminal activity, they were not the source of the bone of contention of anybody, but they're in the wrong place at the wrong time. So I'm going to stop here just to tell you that the first thing that I want you all to understand is that in many instances, you can tell when your child is going to be a problem later on in life. The teachers can tell whether that child needs an intervention and is going to be a problem later on in life. And I want to beg you all as parents, do not ignore the signs. Do not ignore the symptoms. You may not know exactly how to treat to it, but I want you to put up your hand and say to somebody who is in a little better position, a little higher up the chain, I don't think this child is listening. I don't think this child is doing what it is supposed to. I don't know how to cope. But it is when you say nothing, when you ignore all of the things, the child doing things, they ain't listening, they coming home being a bully to other children, where they're getting in all kinds of trouble. It is then that I see the pattern, the progression of the children ending up either in jail or they end up dying. And the second part of it that I want to tell you all as parents, because this is the other part that disturbs me about this thing. You have a trend developing in our society where people don't want to bell the cat. People don't want to snitch. The young people will tell you stitches for snitches. For the older ones in the room who don't understand that, if you tell upon somebody, you could end up dead or you could end up getting beaten up. Okay? And that is something we hear in our music. I come from an entertainment world where, having managed artists, I have spent a lot of my life around that industry. And the difference in terms of my upbringing was that I could decipher from the music what I wanted to take away from it. But a lot of times our children are listening to things that they can't decipher, whether this is just a song, it's a nice melody, it's just lyrics, or whether they should be internalizing what is being said. And the only people who really should be in a position to help, to guide them and to say, listen, that is not something that's appropriate for you to be singing, it ain't something that is appropriate for you to be listening to, is the parents. I can say, because I ain't afraid of none of the children, I ain't afraid of none of one of them. If I see a child doing something that they're not supposed to, or saying something they're not supposed to, I am going to say it, because that is the generation I was raised in, where I am not afraid. And if the parents have a problem with it, well, they're going to got a problem. And I implore the rest of our society to stop this behavior where we turn a blind eye. Because to the mother who lost her son, and I have quite a few, innocently, in my community, the people who know what happened ain't snitching. They're afraid. But we were all raised to say when something is going wrong. But all of a sudden, we are encouraging a behavior that leaves mothers without their children, which is allowing us to now raise children without their fathers, which is allowing women to not have the providers anymore to take care of their children. And I want to beg you this evening, if you have taken nothing else away from what this program has been about, I beg you to pay attention to the signs and the symptoms. Do not be afraid to tell your children when they are doing wrong. If you want the best for your children, but it is okay. We have conditioned ourselves so much that it has now become acceptable behavior in the same way that we don't want to snitch, and that our children have now internalized that you mustn't tell upon nobody. The first thing people will say, "Ma, you're trying to get people fired." No. What I want people to do and what I want parents to do is to make sure that we give of our best at all times. So whether it is your child giving of their best in school and you're telling them don't cheat on the exam, or whether it is a worker when they become an adult going to work and giving of their best and making sure that the money that all of us are putting together to spend, that we are getting an honest day's work. We have to change our mindset if we are going to get the best out of Barbados and out of Barbadians. It isn't going to come by us saying, "Ma, it was always so." How much times y'all have said that? How many times have you seen it? And unless as politicians, as leaders, we are able to say and to call it out for what it is, then we become complicit in the act of what we see happening every single day. I call it out. I call it out because I don't know no other way, because I know foolishness. I worked with when I was going through chemotherapy, I had a port in my chest, taking the chemotherapy. My laptop was in my lap, and I was doing my meetings with the Ministry of Education. I worked 7 days of the week. I don't know what vacations and holidays look like. I might take a day or two here and there, but I work and I give of my best. You could call me any hour of the night, any hour of the morning. I may not always answer, but I get back to people as much as I can. But I say that to say that if I can do that at what was my deepest, darkest hour, that I was still committed to the cause, then all I ask of Bajans to do is give an honest day's work. Don't shortchange the government. Don't shortchange your children. Because the example that you set to them as productive citizens is the example that they are going to see and believe It's okay for them when they break a job and they enter the workplace. So if you are not doing like Shamel's mother and continuing to work and making sure that you turn over money quickly to feed the family and to make sure that everything's set and good, your children are going to grow up believing that the state must provide for you. They're going to grow up believing that they don't have to work an honest day's work because you can get paid regardless. They're going to grow up believing that they don't have to take pride in anything because you know what? You can get paid at the end of the month because you can get paid, because you get appointed or you got a permanent position. We really have to evaluate a lot of what we have come to accept and also to condone in our society, because you are raising as parents the next generation. And the only way to stop the bleeding and to stop the hemorrhaging is for us to have more programs like this. Eddie, this is a wonderful thing. I have done the life skills programs. I will take the leaf from you and I will start my own parenting programs as well. But I think that, we are doing some work with Minister Lane through the Peace Program, where they have embraced a number of organizations, Parados and the Men's Network and others who, I think there are about 5 organizations that are working together on different aspects of parenting and to provide support for people within communities. Because this conversation can no longer be at a national level alone. If we do not get into the communities and meet you where you are and to do what Edmund did, which is to make sure that we understand the dynamics. If we don't provide the support or the child care for you to be able to be comfortable to come to this session, you might not make it. And there are many mothers who know that they can't left the children, so then they don't participate. So as a government, as representatives, we also have to be sensitive to these issues if we want full participation. If I run a program in my community, I gotta provide breakfast, or I gotta provide lunch, or a snack for the children. You know why? Because that is how I am ensuring, not just that, because hungry belly can't learn, but I am making sure that the children are able to participate and that the parents who I know are challenged can breathe a little bit easier because they know they don't have to worry that evening or that Saturday about their children getting something to eat while they are learning something as well. We pride ourselves as a nation on being resilient. We pride ourselves on the unity in our society, our stability, and that we are committed to progress. But yet, in the midst of all of that, sometimes we forget the importance of the family. And that is why I say that without these types of programs, without government's commitment to these type of programs, we are not just raising a child, but we are raising another generation of leaders, another generation of trailblazers, another generation of entrepreneurs. And unless we realize that each of us have a part to play in shaping the society that we want to grow old in, then we're going to continue to repeat the same cycle over and over, where you don't want to leave your house because you don't know if you can get struck by gunshots, or you don't know if somebody is going to try to rob you. And therefore the basics, the foundation must never miss any of you as parents. It is your responsibility to make sure your children good, that they're taken care of, they're clean, but also that they understand what it is to be a young adult as well. And you must do all you can to put them in the programs and the extracurricular activities to allow them to be strengthened, to allow them to know that there is another pathway that they can choose besides the pathway that all around their community, if they're not careful, they're going to end up getting into some level of trouble. It is up to you. It is up to you. And I would want that, Fabian, right? That, and I single you out too, because, as a male, one of the challenges I think that we are facing right now is that we have a lot of single parent families. We have a lot of broken homes. A lot of the children who are getting in trouble with the law are children from broken households. And I say broken not because there's anything wrong with y'all, but broken in the sense that the unity of relationship, because you can be separated from your partner, but you can still be agreed on how to raise your child. Now, as an attorney in another life, it used to trouble me that a court had to tell parents when they should see their children. Well, I wasn't there when you get them. When y'all was courting, y'all decide, you know, the little sweet nothings in your ear and everything. Everybody was good. But all of a sudden, you go to court to represent somebody, and the court is telling you, well, you can have visitation 1 week, and the next week you can have visitation. As if children are some object that is being passed from one entity to the next. And I say to you, if you are in a situation where you are not in a good relationship with the father or the mother, I want to implore you to find a way to have a conversation about the raising of your children. You ain't got to get long for nothing else, you know. But there must be a line of march that exists in relation to what you do when it comes to raising your children. No court should be determining the access. No court should be telling you how many hours you can have with your child. And the other thing that you must be aware of is that we also got to call out this habit where there's this feeling that, you know, the men or the women must bring money, but if they don't bring the money, they can't see the children. It is wrong. A father may not, or a mother may not be able financially to have a job at a particular point in time, but the time that they can spend with that child, just talking with them, holding them, gives the mother or the father a little bit of time to themselves. It gives you a little ease. It cannot just be about money. Children must no longer be about transactions. And I feel very strongly that while we have made the changes in terms of the child protection legislation and the child justice bill to be able to strengthen the powers that the Child Care Board has and the court has in relation to taking action when children go before the court, there's also another dynamic, which is the one I've just spoken about, where people are just going for a divorce. People are just going because there are issues that need to be dealt with in terms of maintenance. And many of those people who are going just for maintenance before the court, they need parenting classes as well. And it should be mandatory where a judge or a lawyer recognizes that this couple is not acting in the best interest of the child. Madam Director, there needs to be a directive given that they must go and attend a parenting class. And it must be mandatory that they attend it. And this, I'm talking about maintenance, not talking about where there is a care and protection order or whatever. We have to get it through people's heads that it is important that you are able to learn how to be effective as a parent. And that you are raising another generation, and where you fail to do the things that are necessary to instill the morals and the values in those children and to treat to them as though they are not objects, then they will turn out to be a part of our society that we all hold in our head and bawling. Because we are all asking the question, why is our society falling apart? But we know the answer. Because people turn a blind eye to what is in front of them. This government has tried to support, even under the One Family program, families who have to be supported because they need the assistance. And we've insisted on the parenting programs in that particular program. The IC Bridge, I believe, also has a component for parenting because this administration recognizes that we are transforming a country, but you can't transform a country and then you don't have people feeling safe within the country. You have more young people learning skills in jail than they are learning in an educational system. That is our responsibility now to make sure that we deal with the transformation that is necessary in education as well, so that your children, if they are not academic, can determine that they want to do a skill. They may be creative, they may have some other gift, another talent. But the way our system has evolved is that, you know, we push children to plumbers, the well diggers, the carpenters, the masons, in all honesty, are the ones that all of us who may be academic and intellectual require in order to fix our homes and to fix the same roads that we want to drive on. They are the ones who right now have the potential to make the most money in this country. Makers, these types of activities are not by chance. There's a structure that this government led by Prime Minister Motley is focused on delivering to the people. Community programs for parenting is not an accident. It is a consequence of what is happening in our society. I presided over, I remember a murder at Frederick Smith. And you know, there's a police officer who tells me that I probably presided over more murders than the morgue, because the funeral directors, because I remember that experience. Again, you have an impact when something like that happens on the parent. But you also know that in the lead up to whatever happened, there were signs and symptoms that people saw. There were things that could have been done along the way. If only we paid attention and we were not so consumed by our own lives, but we were looking out and being our brother's keeper. I leave y'all this evening in the hope that something will stick, that a lot of things will stick, and that you can be better parents, better members of our society, more productive citizens as parents as well. That this is perhaps the opening and the beginning of your interest in other programs of this nature. That you will not be complacent in what you have learned, but that you become a vehicle and a spokesperson to other parents as well, to uplift them, to other men, to other women, to our children, to tell them, you know what, as a father, I went and I did a program, or as a mother, I did a program, and you know what? It is making me a better parent for you. When your turn comes, you need to do the same thing. And don't be afraid not to tell your children, you know, that if, you know, because we don't like to have honest conversations with our children. You got to tell children that you can get older, you know, that you can't do the things today that you're going to do. You can't do the things forever that you did today. That there comes a time where there's a level of maturity that has to take place, and you're going to have to do things differently. And I think parents have to be able to share their own experiences, their own pitfalls. Not because you think that your children are going to avoid what you did, because I know when you tell children not to do something, that's the head time that they want to go and do it. But you got to tell them, because you know what? They must never be able to say, boy, mommy did not tell me or daddy did not tell me that if I had done this, something could have happened. I also say to parents, talk straight to your children, especially your girl children. You know, let your girl children know that physical abuse, sexual abuse is not right. That nobody should be inappropriately touching them. Even your boy children shouldn't be touching them inappropriately. And be brave enough if a male, even if you are relying on them for financial support, if somebody inappropriately does it to your children, it is wrong. And I've seen too many children become adults who are scarred as a result of nobody standing up for them and not saying, this is wrong, I got to get out of this situation. I know it's not easy. I know it ain't easy. But I'm saying to you, sometimes, you know, when you take a decision that you are not going to tolerate something anymore, sometimes avenues open for you. And you have to get the courage sometimes to say, I am not doing this for me. I'm doing this for my children. And that is when the doors open. The last thing I want to tell you is that this recent legislation that we passed on the Child Protection Bill made it mandatory to have reporting done where children have, again, been interfered with inappropriately. I think it is a wonderful thing. Because, there comes a point in a society where sometimes you have to legislate things that should have been obvious. That if a teacher becomes aware of something inappropriate taking place in a school towards a child, or if they recognize that the child is being abused at home, that they have a responsibility to report it. Equally, the parent has the responsibility to report it. You can't escape it. Because why we are doing it isn't because we are trying to encroach on parents, but we are seeing too many scarred children becoming adults and ending up raising scarred children who then have another generation of scarred children coming behind them. And it got to stop. So we are here as a government to support and to be able to help to carry you. But remember, we are all stakeholders in this exercise. This is not a government framework to be able to empower parents. It is not an Eddie's framework to do it. It is not mine. We are all in this together. The educators, all of us, the church, all of us are in this together. And so I really wish you well. I again commend you. I commend the trustees of the Clarkson Foundation. I commend the church for hosting and again being the support here for us this evening. And I wish you well, and I hope that your success stories can be shared. Eddie, I expect an invitation next year so that I can come and to hear the stories of how these women and men have been able to not only be impacted, but how they've been able to impact others. Because it is only when you tell the story that it makes a difference. It's not about Eddie telling his story. It's not about the directors of or the trustees telling his story. It is ordinary people telling the story of the impact that these types of programs will make, that will make the difference. It is what will give it the additional funding and the necessary resources to be able to continue it. So Eddie, thank you again. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
So much information this evening, so many women of power giving us food for thought. Parents, young parents, boy, just get better and better because you've been given lots of information. I've passed that place already. Psalms 127, 3 verse 5 says, "Behold, children are a heritage from the Lord. The fruit of the womb is the reward. Like arrows in a hand of a warrior, so are the children of one's youth. Happy is the man who has his quiver full of them. They shall not be ashamed, but shall speak with their enemies in the gate." And so this evening we have a student who will now address you, Miss Simone Smith, one of the graduates this afternoon. Simone, welcome.
Good evening. Master of Ceremonies and Director of the Clarkson Foundation, Ms. Faye Lucas, the Honorable Santia Brabshaw, MP, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of the Public Works, the Reverend Lennox Boyce of the Guardian Church of God, Mrs. Beverly Smith Hinkson, Chairman of the Clarkson Foundation, Inc., and other directions of the Foundation, Senator the Honorable Chad Blackman, Minister in the Ministry of Economic Affairs, the Honorable Edmund Hinkson, SC, Member of Parliament for the St. James North, Patron of the Clarkson Foundation, Inc., Ms. Shamel Rice, Founder and Chief Executive Officer of the Jabez House, other specially invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, my fellow graduates. As I stand on the cusp of this momentous occasion, it's with great pride and gratitude that I reflect on the journey my fellow graduates and I have undertaken together during the 9 weeks of this parent education and personal development program, hosted by the Clarkson Foundation, Inc., under the stewardship of our beloved Member of Parliament, St. James North, Mr. Edmund Hinkson, and Mrs. Rhonda Hudson, who put together this most informative and educational program. Throughout those weeks, we've delved into a wealth of knowledge that transcends mere academics. We venture into the realms of personal development, enhancing our self-esteem, body image, parental education, and also childcare. We've explored the depths of emotional intelligence and its profound impact on our lives and relationships with our children. We've embraced the power of self-love, acceptance, mental, physical, as well as sexual and reproductive health, understanding that these are the pillars form the foundation upon which we build our everyday lives. From discussions on STIs and STDs to sessions on substance abuse, as well as sessions on effective communication and time management, we've equipped ourselves with the tools necessary to navigate life's myriad challenges. We've debunked myths surrounding parenting and embraced the importance of building strong, lasting connections with our children at every stage of their development. Moreover, we've looked towards the future, exploring the intersection of technology and humanity. We've learned about cybersecurity in this century and how it has evolved and how we ought to stay vigilant with our children regarding the sites and games that they access. We've harnessed the potential of artificial intelligence and explored the dynamics of caring relationships in an increasingly digital age. But perhaps most importantly, we've embraced the spirit of entrepreneurship, budgeting our income, financial literacy, and the importance of paying national insurance, recognizing the power we hold to shape our own destinies and contribute meaningfully to society. Congratulations to my fellow graduates on this remarkable achievement. May our paths be illuminated by wisdom gained and connections formed during our time together. As we stand on the threshold of new beginnings, let us carry forth the lessons learned and the bonds forged during our time with each other. Let us approach the future with courage, compassion, and unwavering commitment to lifelong learning and development. Thank you.
I am so proud of our graduates this afternoon, and Simone, you've touched my heart, and I can only wish you the best from here on. Not only her, but all of you. It is that time of the evening when we present certificates to the class 2024. I turn this part now over to our patron, the Honorable Edmund Gregory Hinkson. You can do that.
Okay. Okay, Rhonda, come up as well. And we'll have the directors present the certificates. So, Erica, since you're up, you're going to hand?
No, I'm handing them.
Okay, and then, all right. So, Beverly, as chairman, come and present. So you're going to... All right, so I got it. Okay. Good. So Rincey, Miss Rincey Mason. Rincey, come. No? You had them walking. No, come straight. The shortest way. Rhonda, come this side. The balance. Turn it round, turn it round, turn it round.
Let's have a look at it, see what it says.
Sabrina. Ole, good boy.
Thank you.
Andrea Hope Pitchard. Okay, yeah. So Keisha Thornhill. Okay. So Fabian Thornhill.
Want another one?
You're going so fast. Holy protect.
You got it right? I don't know.
Okay. Michaela Hudson.
Look over there.
Alicia Carrington. Parents. Rico Goy. That's 3. Okay. So Faye. Courtney Smith. Simone Smith. Kenesha Reese. Tia Drake. Chantel Blackman. Boy, if I could Jess Cousin. Kamisha Taylor. At first. Shafiro Dotti. Christina Thompson. Vivian Headley. Akila Hardin.
Okay. Danielle Thompson. Last but not least, Danielle. I guess I will. Jade Aline. We have some lovely glass plaques on the table, as you guys can see. This program would not have been possible without the invaluable contributions of many persons. First up, we have Jade Aline, and she helped take care of the children each and every single Saturday. Woo! We have Stacy Medford, who also was an invaluable caretaker every single Saturday morning. Thank you, Stacy. Thanks for taking care of my very difficult child, whom I love so much. Edison. Oh, Chad, can you join us out here to help give out some of these plaques? We're now giving Edison Aline.
Edison assisted with transportation. Mount Zion Church, where we held the mock interviews. Santia.
Sandra Field Kelman. She also assisted with the children. We all know her as an expert in the educational field, so we really appreciated having an expert educator on board to help with the children each morning as well. We have the Gordon Greenwich Primary School, where we actually held all of the sessions in their open air hall, where we learned 9 lessons that will be taken forward, everything from life and work skills and how to be an exceptional parent. So we want to ask the principal of Gordon Greenwich School to please come forward and receive the plaque on behalf of your school. Thank you for letting us use your school for this program. Next up, we have the Garden Church of God, which we're having our graduation ceremony this evening at, as you can see. Thank you to the Garden Church of God again for letting us use your church to enjoy such a wonderful graduation. Thank you for all your help in the technical setup and assistance as well. JP. All right, Diana is not here, but we will say a word about Diana as well. This is with helping with the refreshments. Thank you so much, Diana. Keela Jordan, she's not here. And we have Donna Turney. Thank you to everyone for all of your contributions. Donna's here. Thank you, Donna. Donna, you help with the children as well, as far as I remember. Thanks for your caretaking and all of your love and support. Keela was also one of the caretakers as well. And as we said, Diana with the refreshments. So we'll make sure everybody gets their plaques. Let's give a huge round of applause to everybody who's contributing to making this entire program the success that it was.
We now have graduates. Let's all give them another round of applause. You were taught many life skills. Now you have the opportunity to put what you've learned into practice. From preparing your CV to being a model employee in the workplace, no matter where you are employed, and strive always for excellence. Our foundation, as you realize, is a balanced foundation. The men does not outweigh the women, and vice versa. And so, we have come to that part of the evening where I need to make some apologies for two members of the foundation. Andrew Seeley, who is busy with World Cup T20 cricket, and also our financial advisor, William Lane. Regrettably, none of them could be here this afternoon. I will now introduce myself. Faye Lucas, JP, member of St. James North, and a member of Clarkson Foundation, Inc. But it also gives me great pleasure to close the evening by asking Jeff Thompson, another member of the foundation, to move the vote of thanks. After this, we will place our anniversary cake at the front and ask Simon to do the cutting of that cake, followed by refreshments for everyone on the outside. Good evening as you go home. Get there safely, and God bless.
Good evening, everyone. Protocol already being established. I promise that I will be very brief. Mr. Hinkson and everyone who has spoken before has already given thanks to everyone. So there are a few people that I would just like to single out at this time. Ms. Susan Parker, Shanice Jordan, Jonathan Smith, and Evelyn Hippolyte. These are the people that also did a lot of the legwork in terms of the operation, preparation, the food for the meetings that we had. So I also want to take this time to especially thank them. Thank you to the speakers that we had this evening. You all did a very good job of connecting with people. A lot of times people come and they speak at people. The deliveries this evening were real life stories, and I know all of us here appreciated it. I really have to thank the Deputy Prime Minister and the Honorable Mr. Chad Blackman for being here. It is not often that you can get 2 members of cabinet. We were fortunate to have 2 at the opening, and we have 2 at the close. So I just want to say thank you. And that really and truly is a testament to the work that Mr. Hinkson does. So I want to take this opportunity to particularly thank him and the other directors. It is a lot of work. Edmund has done a lot of work in his time with us in St. James North, and I think that he needs to be recognized for the things that he has accomplished as a minister and as a member of parliament. So please take this time to give Edmund a round of applause for the work that he has done in St. James North. So like I said, I will be brief. Thank you to everyone for making it here this evening, despite the rain and the challenges. We really appreciate it. And I want everyone to get home safely. And we look forward to seeing you at our fundraiser. Thank you.
Some Duke on the vibe.
This year, blessing, money, testimony. Go to follow, you they go.
This year, good news, giant, plenty balling. Go to follow, you they go.
Everything I've been wanting, manifesting for my life.
Everything you've been wanting, manifesting for your life.
Even before you call, you don't answer prayer. My papa is too shy, you don't fit for your hand. Even before you call, you don't answer prayer. My papa is too shy for your hand. Everything I've been wanting, for my life. Everything you've been wanting, manifesting for your life. Everything I've been wanting, manifesting for my life. Everything you've been wanting, manifesting for my life. This year, blessing, money, testimony. Go to follow, you they go.
This year, good news, giant, plenty balling. Go to follow, you they go.
What you want, kid?
I want an autograph.
The champ ain't giving no autographs today, so get
I want
on.
an autograph.
Boy, did you hear what I say?
Yo, Big Slim.
What's up, champ?
Let the kid in, man.
Go on inside.
Excuse me.